Hey folks, I'm Chuck Black. We're doing quokka-prime from scratch. Today's lesson is device monitoring, specifically getting status from devices. Now this lesson is a little bit choppy because basically I'm pretty lame at doing videos. So my apologies. Hopefully it will make sense, and let's get started. Now the next step that we need to do in our device monitor is implement the actual status monitoring. As you can see down here on the bottom right, I am getting the status. I have the model and I have the version, and you can see eventually the last heard over there on the right, that has gotten updated to the current time. So I am actually doing this. I have implemented it, and the question is, how did I implement it? We're going to wait just a second and see the update to see if that number over there, the 1035, is going to update when we get new data to display. And we even had one device go down, but the times for the ones that we were successful have been recorded. So how did I do that? Well, the first thing that I did was I looked at the actual quokka-prime device monitor functionality. I implemented this function called get device facts, and that functionality is exactly what I ended up implementing over on my version. So I've already done it. When you see over on the left, you will see that I am getting status. I'm calling it get status instead of get device facts, and that functionality is going to get implemented during the main loop when it calls it. And here's the code where I'm doing all the NAPALM stuff. You'll need to look at NAPALM in order to figure that out. If you want more details, get facts is what I am doing when my NAPALM call. And over in the main loop, you can see here I'm calling get status. That's the thing that I just implemented. So I read the device information, I get the devices from the server, and then I iterate through, and for every device I'm going to call get status. Okay, I'm going to interrupt myself right here. I realized I didn't do a good job of explaining to you what this get facts does. Now I do describe this in 52 weeks of Python when I talk about NAPALM, but basically when you call get facts, it's going to return to you a bunch of information about that device. And so some of the things that it will return to you would be the model number. So I can just go to facts, this return value, and extract the model number and set my device model to that particular thing. And you can see over here I've got the model number for my various different devices. So that can be used exactly as it is. Now OS version is a little bit more interesting because it can be complicated and have more information in there than I want to use. So I'm created a function called get version, and I'm passing in device and facts. That's because based on the type of device that it is, I'm going to use a regular expression to extract the information that I want. Specifically for iOS XE devices, what I'm going to do is I'm going to create regular expression. Again, there's the 52 weeks to Python lesson on regular expressions. What I'm going to look for is this version thing. The thing in parentheses is going to be group 1. And so if my pattern matches when I attempt to do my regular expression search, then what I'm going to be able to do is just return the match value from that string. So it extracts what I want. If it doesn't find it, it returns dash dash, but it's pretty reliable. Version is in there every time I've seen anyway. If it's not iOS XE, just return the thing that came back with facts. So whatever that is, I'll use that. And so I have different types of devices. One is iOS XE, the other two are not. And so what I'm going to end up doing is sometimes I'll do the regular expression, sometimes I won't. And I will set those values, and then we can see the version looks kind of common and normalized independent of what type, what model of device it is. So that's what I did in order to get the version. So getting the model straightforward, getting the version requires a little bit more work, but that's what I did. So now that we know how we're getting the facts, we need to put this together in our main loop. We will be getting status, but we're going to be doing it inside of a loop where we're doing a while true. We get all the devices. After we have the devices, we have a loop where we're going to go through and we're going to print it. That's kind of for diagnostic. And then we get status for the devices. And then we wait until we are done with whatever the time period is. I think it's 60 seconds. And you can see over in the device monitoring window in the upper right that we do get the information. We print it out diagnostically still. That's what I'm doing. And then eventually we have this countdown timer that's going to go from 60 down to 1, and then we'll begin again. So the last thing we want to do is look at how we print this stuff out. So here's my device display. It's got all these nice columns in the table, and it's updating periodically. How did we do that? Well, I basically took my host display and I used the general structure of host display. So here I'm getting hosts, I'm printing hosts, and I have a main function, and I'm doing the similar thing here where I'm getting devices, printing devices, and I have a main function that does the main stuff. So I was able to preserve that and use it for the most part intact. But printing devices is a little bit different, and so in order to implement that, what I did was I went and I got the quokka-prime version of this, and I basically took all of this formatting stuff for printing out my devices, and I used it over here on my device display for this quokka-prime from scratch version that I'm doing. Now there's some stuff that I had to comment out because it's no longer not relevant because it hasn't been implemented yet. So you can see there's some information about previous devices and highlighting. I also don't have compliance information for the version number. I implemented that in quokka-prime. I haven't done that yet. So this is the code that I use. I just checked to see if OS version and model are in device. That will cause it to crash if it's not. And if it's not, then I set the value to blank, and otherwise I just put the color that I already have before and after the device. I'm not doing compliance color anymore. This helps it to be formatted correctly. And the model, if I don't have it, I just put a blank in there. And this is all the formatting that I spent time doing. I didn't want to have to spend time doing it again. And you can see over here that it actually comes out looking pretty nice. And this is giving me an indication that my monitoring is actually working, and yeah, another good thing to have accomplished and implemented. Hey, thanks for watching this episode on quokka-prime from scratch. I'm Chuck Black. If you do have questions or comments, feel free to leave a message with this video. I'm also on Twitter at Chuck A. Black. If you want to send email with a question, comment, or just to say hi, the email address you can reach me at is python.52.weeks@gmail.com. Also, remember to subscribe to this channel. I hope these lessons are helping you to achieve your goals towards becoming a real software developer. So long for now, and see you at the next episode.